My daughter said your hands are too embarrassing to walk me down the aisle, so I let her stepfather. She said it in the bridal shop dressing room in front of the seamstress, in front of her stepfather, in front of everyone. Dad, your hands are they're too embarrassing to walk me down the aisle. Nobody laughed. Nobody corrected her. I just stood there holding a garment bag with my scarred hands, and I said, okay, that's it. That's all I said. My name is Robert Dale. I'm 61 years old. I spent 34 years as a welder at a steel fabrication plant off Route 9, and my hands show every single one of those years. Burn scars across both palms, two fingers on my right hand that don't fully straighten anymore from a hydraulic press accident back in 1998, nails that never quite grew back right. I used to be proud of those hands. They put a roof over my daughter's head. They paid for her braces, her cheer uniforms, her first car. Nobody told me they'd become a source of shame. Here's what you need to understand before I go further. This is Wednesday, March 12th, 4:15 in the afternoon, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how the next 6 weeks unfolded because every part of it matters. My daughter's name is Hannah. She's 26. Her mother, Diane, and I divorced when Hannah was 9. And 2 years after that, Diane married a man named Gerald Kessler, a financial planner with soft hands and a corner office downtown. I never fought Gerald for space in Hannah's life. I showed up to every soccer game, every dance recital, every parent-teacher conference I was allowed into. I paid child support on time for 9 straight years, sometimes working double shifts to make sure the check never bounced. I thought that was enough. I thought showing up was enough. The bridal shop appointment happened on a Saturday. Hannah had asked me to come along to help pick out the tuxedo, told me it would mean a lot if I was part of the planning process. I drove 90 minutes with a garment bag full of dress shirts I'd ironed the night before, wanting to look right for her, wanting this to matter. The seamstress, a woman named Carol, was fitting Hannah's dress when I walked in. Gerald was already there, sitting in a velvet chair like he belonged in it, sipping a coffee someone had brought him. Hannah turned around in that white dress, saw me, and her face did something I'll never forget. It didn't light up, it flinched. "Dad, hey," she said, then quieter to Gerald, but not quiet enough. "I still haven't figured out how to handle the walking down the aisle thing." Gerald said nothing, just sipped his coffee. "Handle what thing?" I asked. Hannah's face went red. She looked at the seamstress, then back at me, and the words came out fast, like she'd rehearsed them and wanted to get them over with. "Dad, your hands are they're too embarrassing to walk me down the aisle. In the photos, everyone's going to be looking at them the whole time. I've been thinking maybe Gerald should do it instead." The room went completely silent. Carol, the seamstress, stopped pinning fabric. Gerald looked at his coffee cup like it had suddenly become the most interesting object in New Jersey. I looked down at my hands, really looked at them the way you look at something you've stopped noticing after 30 years. Scar tissue across the left palm from 2003, the two crooked fingers, the burn mark shaped like a comma near my right wrist that Hannah used to trace with her small finger as a little girl, asking me to tell the story again. "Daddy, tell me the fire story again." "Okay," I said, just that one word. I set the garment bag down on the nearest chair, told Carol it was nice meeting her, and walked out of that bridal shop into the parking lot where I sat in my truck for 11 minutes before I could make my hands steady enough to drive. I didn't call Hannah that night. I didn't call her the next day either. Here's the part I need you to understand. I wasn't angry, not at first. I was something worse than angry. I was ashamed. 26 years of being her father, and in one sentence, she'd made me feel like something to be hidden from a camera lens. 3 days later, Diane called me, not Hannah, Diane. "Robert, I heard about Saturday. I'm sorry, I really am. That shouldn't have happened that way." "Did you know she was planning to ask Gerald?" A pause. That pause told me everything. "There'd been some discussion," Diane said carefully, "about the photos, about how everything needs to look a certain way for the wedding album. Gerald's been paying for most of it, Robert, and I think Hannah just felt some pressure to. Gerald's paying for it," I repeated. "That's not the point I'm trying to make." "It's exactly the point," I said and hung up. I want to tell you I handled the next 2 weeks with grace. I didn't. I went quiet. I stopped answering Hannah's texts, the few she sent, short and guilty. Dad, can we talk? Dad, I didn't mean it like that. Dad, please. I sat with those messages for a long time. I thought about the fire story, the one she used to ask for. How I got that scar pulling a coworker named Marcus away from a slag spill in 1994, 3 seconds before it would have taken his leg. How I never once in 26 years made her feel small for anything about her. Not her acne in middle school, not the year she failed algebra twice, not the boyfriend in college who broke her heart so badly she called me crying at 2 in the morning and I drove 4 hours to sit with her in a dorm parking lot until sunrise. 26 years of showing up, erased by one sentence in a bridal shop. Here's where the story turns, and I need you to stay with me because what happened next wasn't something I planned. It found me. 4 weeks before the wedding, I got a call from Marcus Reyes, the same Marcus from 1994. We'd stayed close over the decades, still grabbed lunch every few months. He runs a small nonprofit now, works with burn survivors and amputees, teaches them trade skills, welding, machining, careers people assume are closed to them once their bodies don't look the way bodies are supposed to look. Robert, I need a favor, Marcus said. We're doing a feature. Local news wants to profile guys like us, guys with hands people stare at, guys who built things anyway. You in? I almost said no. Then I thought about Hannah's face in that bridal shop, the flinch, and something in me said yes instead. The segment aired on a Tuesday evening, 6 days before the wedding. Local news, 5 minutes, nothing huge, but in it I told the fire story. I told it straight to the camera, no shame in my voice, showed my hands without hiding them, explained exactly how each scar got there and what it cost me and what it saved. Marcus stood beside me and said something I didn't expect him to say on camera. Robert Dale's hands aren't something to hide from a photograph. They're the reason some of us still have our own hands to hold anything at all. The clip got picked up online, not viral exactly, but enough. 40,000 views by Thursday. Comments from strangers calling my hands beautiful, calling them proof, calling them a story written in scar tissue. Hannah called me Thursday night. First time in 4 weeks I answered. Dad, she said, and her voice was already breaking. I saw the video. I didn't say anything, let her sit in it. Dad, I've been replaying that day in the bridal shop over and over, and I keep hearing myself say it, and I hate who I sounded like. I was so worried about how things would look in photos that I forgot what my hands even mean. What your hands mean, those aren't embarrassing, Dad, they're not. Her voice cracked completely. I was embarrassed of the wrong thing. I was embarrassed of the story when the story is the best part of you. I still didn't say anything right away. Some silences need to be earned before they're broken. Gerald's been good to me, she continued, but he's never once told me a story like that, not because he doesn't love me, because there's nothing on him that has a story like that to tell, and I picked him to walk me down the aisle because I was scared of what people would think of scars, when I should have been proud that my own father's hands built half the beams holding up buildings in this state. Hannah, I finally said, why are you telling me this now? Because the invitations already went out with Gerald listed, she said, and I don't know how to fix that 6 days out. But I don't want him walking me down that aisle, Dad. I want you. I've wanted you the whole time. I just said something so stupid and so cruel that I didn't know how to take it back without looking foolish in front of everyone, and I let that pride cost me weeks with you I'm never getting back. Here's the confrontation. The real one, not with Hannah, with Gerald. 2 days before the wedding, Gerald called me himself. First time in 17 years he'd ever called me directly. Robert, Hannah told me she wants you walking her down the aisle. I want you to know I'm not going to make this difficult. I never wanted to take your place. I just didn't correct her when she said what she said, and I should have. That's on me. Why didn't you correct her? A long pause. Because some part of me liked being asked, he admitted. I've been in her life 17 years, Robert, and there's always been this quiet feeling that I'm the substitute, not the real thing. When she asked me instead of you, some ugly part of me just wanted to feel like the real thing for one day. That wasn't fair to you. It wasn't fair to her either. I respected that honesty more than I expected to. The wedding happened on a Saturday in April, out behind a restored barn venue with string lights and folding chairs on real grass. I wore a new suit, tailored sleeves that stopped exactly at the wrist, no hiding, no rolling them down. Hannah took my arm at the top of the aisle, looked at my hand wrapped around hers, and before we took a single step, she leaned over and whispered something into my ear that the photographer somehow still caught in a photo that now sits framed on my mantle. Tell me the fire story again, Dad. So I did quietly the whole walk down that aisle, the two of us moving slow enough that the photographer had time to catch every second of it. Marcus, my old coworker, the man whose leg these hands once saved, stood in the third row and didn't even try to hide that he was crying. Gerald gave a toast that night instead, a good one, honest, no bitterness in it. He talked about being grateful to be trusted with 17 years of a girl's growing up, and grateful enough now to step back and watch her father have the one walk that always should have belonged to him. I think about that bridal shop sometimes, that flinch on Hannah's face, the shame that sat in my chest for 4 straight weeks. I think about how close I came to just accepting it, to shrinking myself down because someone I loved got scared of what a photograph might show. But hands that build things don't shrink easily. Mine never did, not on the job, not in that parking lot, and not when it finally mattered most, walking my daughter toward the rest of her life, scars and all, in full view of every single camera in that barn.